Hey everyone, welcome to the build video of the brand new E-flite Turbo Timber Evolution 1.5 meter. This is the bind and fly model, so it's got an AR636TA already installed in it. And we're going to go through and follow the instruction manual and put it together. But if you're already familiar with the original Timber or the Turbo Timber, you will not have you're not in for any surprises on the new Turbo Timber Evolution. It really assembles very similarly. I'm not going to go ahead and do the float assembly today. We're going to just put the landing gear on and use this as a kind of a ground flyer. My original Timber is on floats, and I think that one may just become a dedicated float flyer because I love the way that airplane looks on floats. So this one we're going to do something a little different. We're just going to put the wheels on this one and do the assembly that way. So if you guys got any questions, leave them in the comments below, but I will be following the manual, and that's how we're going to go through and proceed on this build video, okay? All right, so a few things you're going to need before you get started. One, get the manual out. Go ahead and just follow this, and you're going to need a couple tools. I have a pair of Phillips screwdrivers here, and I also have a 13 millimeter wrench. I believe that's going to be all the tools necessary to put together this aircraft. There's no gluing involved. All the fasteners come in these teeny tiny little bags here, so I get them all out so they're ready to rock and roll. But that's really all the tools you're going to need to assemble your Turbo Timber Evolution. The first thing that you're going to want to do during the assembly, following the instructions, is to go ahead and put the prop on. So the prop adapter and spinner come together in a little bag. So we just go ahead and put those in here. It's a collet style, nothing out of the ordinary. I mean, this is pretty common for a lot of the E-flite planes. And we got this beautiful three-bladed prop. I will eventually paint these tips white and maybe do a little red stripe on there, kind of like a T-28 prop a little bit. But for now, I'm just going to go ahead and install the prop just as it came out of the factory. I always like to paint the prop tips because A, they look cool, and B, you can see it when they're spinning, and C, they look cool. So I'll be honest, that's one of the things I just love doing. But for today's exercise, we're just going to go ahead and install this just the way it came out of the box, all right? And this is where you're going to want to use that 13 millimeter wrench to go ahead and tighten this down, okay? And of course, the key is whenever you're installing a prop adapter is to get it tight, but not too tight. There we go. Snug, but not too tight. Usually what I do is I always recommend checking that after a flight or two, just to make sure everything stays tight. You got a lot of rotational forces going on here. And so I usually give it a flight and then take the nose cone off and check to make sure that the prop is indeed tight. Okay, we'll go ahead and put the spinner on. Just uses a Phillips screwdriver. There we go. Very pointed nose cone on the Turbo Timber and the Turbo Timber Evolution compared to the more, I guess, softer shaped cone that is on my original Timber. And that's pretty common, actually. If you look at a turboprop aircraft versus a regular internal combustion engine aircraft, so you're at your local airport, you'll see that difference. And so that's obviously they have carried that same look over. I actually chrome painted mine on my regular Timber, so it's got a chrome spinner on there, but I think the black spinner with this black anti-glare panel here on top of the aircraft really fits in well with the rest of the paint scheme. It really does look like it belongs out in the kind of in the bush a little bit, you could say. Just go ahead and flip it over now, and now for this we're going to go ahead and put in the landing gear. And this really shouldn't be any big surprise for anyone who has a Timber. These assemble very similarly. And for these, you're going to want to use the 3 millimeter by 8 millimeter long machine screws, and they just simply go ahead and install in here. All right, so like I said before, if you're familiar with assembling the Timber before, these landing gear really aren't anything to be of concern. They assemble very similarly. Okay, so now we're going to go ahead and get these springs installed. They do include some washers that go with those as well. So you put a put the bolt or the screw here and the washer together, and then you just simply go ahead and install those into the landing gear area. All right, so after you get the landing gear installed, you go ahead and connect the two springs together, and there are just there are two screws in that you need to remove. Put the spring of the adjacent landing gear into place, and now you are done. Just screw that back in. Now you can see that the spring landing gear do indeed function, and you also get a really good look at when you do this assembly of this redesigned, strengthened area of the landing gear, which really makes this Turbo Timber Evolution more durable than the original versions. So with that out of the way, let's go ahead and keep moving on to the next steps here, and that's going to be the installation of the horizontal stabilators. So let's go move some stuff around here and go ahead and install those, shall we? And the installation of these guys is really pretty simple. They slide into place. The elevators lock in with their interlocking joints. And then they are just screwed into place, and then you just do have to attach the elevator servo, and the elevator control rod goes on the outer hole and just snaps into place. So we'll go ahead and get this screwed in first, then we'll go ahead and attach the control horn. Now we go ahead and install the control horn for the elevator, and we put that on the outer hole. All right, so we're quickly running out of pieces on the aircraft here. So we have the elevator installed with the control horn. We have the horizontal stabilator installed, and we're continually moving through the list of parts here. Now the next one depends on whether or not you want to do the installation of the slats or not, and that's on the wings. For this sake, I'm going to go ahead and go without them. I've decided that I have one timber with. I'm going to do one timber without, and we'll see how they compare. What's really cool is they give you these little, they're stickers basically that allow you, if you say, you know what, I don't want to run the slats, but I don't want all those cutouts in the paint scheme. See how you have all these white cutouts in here? Well, let's say I don't really want to do the slats and I don't really want to have these unsightly squares in there. They give you little decal packets so you can actually go ahead and cover those over, and I think that's a really cool idea. So I'm going to be doing that on mine, and we'll try it. We'll fly it without, and maybe I'll decide that I want to do the slats. But I think I'm going to try one airplane without and one airplane with, and we're going to see how well they compare. And just like that, those little white squares are all gone. So those little decals just pop into place there, and that hides it. So if you're not going to run the slats, go ahead and install those little red stickers over there. And if you are going to use the slats, just go ahead and this would be the time to go ahead and install them before you put the wings together. So with that said, I'm going to go ahead and put the wings together, which just like any timber before, just put the spar in both halves and assemble. And I'll tell you what, you can definitely tell that with this new, the Evolution, the Turbo Timber Evolution here, this is a far more stiffer wing. And now we're going to go ahead and let's plug in these new wire harnesses. And I think those wire connections there, those pin connectors, are just awesome. That really speeds up the installation of the wing here. So if you got to do field installations, that is such the way to go, rather than trying to plumb all the other wires in all together. So we'll just give it a double check, make sure everything is seated. Yep, sure is. And the wing just go ahead and drop on here. And then it's the same joiner plate that everybody who's got a timber is already familiar with. And as usual, that first time around, I always get it upside down. So, and then just like the other timbers, you just go ahead and put on these nylon screws. And just like that, the Turbo Timber Evolution is now fully assembled. Now, I did mention that you don't need any glue to do the assembly. Everything is put together with a screwdriver and a wrench. But however, if you were going to be putting the leading edge slats on, you do actually need to glue those on. So I was a little mistaken when I had said that before, but just to clarify that you can assemble the entire aircraft without the slats with just simply a screwdriver and a 13mm wrench, and everything goes together. But if you are going to put on the leading edge slats, you will need some glue for that. Otherwise, the assembly was super easy. There's a lot of parts when you first get it out of the box, but they go together so well. And of course, about half of those parts are actually related to the floats. And since I'm just going to run this one on landing gear for now, we're not going to bother putting the floats together. But if you guys have any questions on the assembly of the Turbo Timber Evolution, by all means, please leave them in the comments below. I'll be more than happy to help out. But if you've assembled the regular timber or the Turbo Timber, you'll have no problems at all with this. It assembles exactly like the original ones do without any issues at all. And if you're new and if you're really looking for your second aircraft and you're wondering what to buy, you've kind of graduated from a trainer and you're looking at what airplane to buy next, the Turbo Timber Evolution by far is definitely one I would consider. I have known plenty of guys who've done it. I use this kind of as an advanced trainer myself, but it's a wonderful airplane for a second pilot or a second aircraft for a pilot to fly. And the assembly of it is definitely easy enough. If you've assembled a trainer, you can most certainly assemble the Turbo Timber Evolution here. There isn't anything on here of any concern or requires any advanced mechanical skill or knowledge. Just read the instruction manual. Just get out your screwdriver, your wrench, and your glue if you put on the leading edge slats, and you can have this thing assembled in no time. So that wraps up the assembly video of the brand new Turbo Timber Evolution here. From E-flite. And so if you guys got any questions at all, just leave them in the comments below. I'm going to go ahead and grab a battery, get this thing bound up, and prepare to take it to the field and go fly it.